Alright, so this is meditation from May 30th, day 106 in the original year-long experiment of writing every day, phenomenological meditation. This is chapter 7 in the book Being and Learning, where this material was ultimately published, pages 177 to 179. And you should check out, if you just see in this blog, I mean, there's at this point well over 100 of these short videos that are documenting the writing I originally did, and that's what I'm doing. I'm commemorating, and I'm recording them here on YouTube because it's very seamless for me to record the video reading of the material, which I wrote 10 years ago. And so every day that I wrote, 10 years later now, I'm reading what I wrote, and then I'm posting it on the blog. And because the blog is on Blogger, which is very easy, so if you want to get some context, you should check out the blog, where I have some, sort of offbeat and interesting sort of commentary that go along with these meditations. And of course there's the book, Being and Learning, and so you might want to check that out. So I'm in the middle of a series of meditations on meditation, and so it's a kind of recursive thing that's going on here, or feedback loop, and talking about Socrates in jail, and the Phaedo as a moment of inspiration. As we approach Socrates, who waits in his jail cell, occupying his time with the composition of poems, composing himself with poetic dwelling, we identify his comportment as situated by meditative thinking. The posture of meditative thinking places us precisely in that location that Heraclitus points to when he says, "For wisdom, listen not to me, but to the word." Meditative thinking, or better, the practice of meditation, locates one outside of the comings and goings of everyday life, outside of the most habituation, and in the most authentic relation to the other that speaks wisdom. The standing outside has been called existence, which is another way of writing ecstasis. We call the outside standing of the meditative thinker ecstasis. But to be located in this ecstatic standing is to be attentive to the ineffable appearance of being. To be attentive to being's processual unfolding is to be claimed, to be seized, and to submit to the appeal of the mysterious and unforeseen. This profound possibility, identified as the most creative process. The ecstatic stand of the meditative thinker unfolds when the meditator has found himself at a distance from himself, seized and transported. This seizure occurs after the meditator has been released through the renouncing of his claim upon language. This seizure is the other key moment of the twofold play of meditation. Thus, ecstasis is completed by pathema, the mode of being acted upon. As we have seen, Socrates' mission of cultivating friendship by offering the gift of love was put underway by an evocative saying, a message from the gods, that seized and made a claim upon him. He was thrown outside of himself, and in this state of perplexity brought all who were willing, quote, to the same creed, and convinced them that if they are to make this gift our own, love will help our moral nature more than all the world. That's a quote from the Symposium. All along the way, we are offered one example after another of Socrates as one who was in a state of seizure, pathema, and thrown outside of himself. And it is precisely here, in the state of pathema, that we encounter him responding in his time of waiting. Certainly, this was but a glimpse of Socrates as he endured what he endured when he returned home from his company of his friends to himself. Yet what we recognize is that neither at home nor in the company of his friends did Socrates abandon his appointed post, his existent standing. Like Heraclitus, warming his hands by the fire, in the nearness of the gathering directive, Socrates remained steadfastly existing both at home and abroad. He did not attempt to recover himself, however, but rather to recollect a community, so that in his incompletion, his state of perplexity, which signifies the open-endedness of his life story, he was completed and carried forward in the storytelling we call poetic dialogue. The movement of the Socratic being of ecstasis is the recollection of the narrative community, a collection of incomplete characters who together become enjoined in poetic dwelling. To be made incomplete is to be released into the openness of receiving the other as the one who participates in one's life story. To renounce the claim upon language, upon writing and performing of one's life as a solo act, is to announce the entrance of the chorus and to take up one's position within this polyphonic performance that is the manifold's unified manifestation. But to take up one's position in the chorus and to see one's life story unfolding as part of a grand narrative, one must first have been seized, that is, to have submitted oneself to painstaking listening. And meditative thinking is the practice and preparation for this submission that carries out the building of poetic dwelling, insofar as meditation is the listening to the silence of the ineffable. When the meditator listens to the silence, this profound and unfathomable, mysterious depth of possibility conserved by the truth of concealment, she has become attentive to wisdom. And to become attentive to wisdom is to attend to being, to quote that which regions, quote, to the openness of the mystery, from Heidegger. The practice of meditation places us before the ineffable, and to be placed before the ineffable is, quote, to stand at once within the realm of what hides itself from us, and hides itself just in approaching us. That which shows itself is at the same time withdrawing the essential trait of what we call, that which shows itself and at the same time withdraws is the essential trait of what we call the mystery, end quote from Heidegger. Meditative thinking conditions one for the comportment which prepares one for the steadfast openness, to attend to the openness of the mystery that is conserved by the truth of concealment, the mysterious of the unforeseen, of the profound, and the unfathomable possibility, that gap between past and future which opens up the open region, the condition for the actuality of the reciprocal exchange of poetic dialogue. To be seized by the appeal of language is thus to be committed to that conditioning regime that prepares one for the arduous labor of painstaking listening, of building poetic dwelling, of cultivating the preserver of freedom and peace. This commitment involves attending to the call of being. It involves working on behalf of a serving being. The practice of meditative thinking is an exercise of submitting oneself to the mystery of the gathering directive and attending to its beckoning. To meditate is to respond to being's claim, to wait upon the guidance of wisdom. The sage practices meditation in order to be capable of bearing the message of wisdom, of conveying the guidance of the word, of guiding the cultivation and building of the community of peace and freedom, of communing with their apprentices. And that's where it ends this day, the 30th of May. Please check out the blog post, because after that funny sort of interruption and atmospheric noise by my son, it all kind of makes sense. So here we are, this day, the 30th of May, commemorating the dialogue from day 106.